now. I'll count Mike, Ari, Rachel, Chloe, Brooke. Can you guess the year? Here are some reminders to help you out. Ronald Reagan was president. Tina Turner's What's Love Got to Do With It was the #1 song of the year. A gallon of gas cost $1.20, and the Chicago Bears were the greatest team to ever take the field in the storied history of the NFL. Any guesses?
1985.
1985, correct. I know the doubters are going to say, what about the 1972 Dolphins? They were the only team to ever finish the season undefeated. I understand this, but the 1985 Bears were simply the greatest team ever, and here's why. The collection of players the Chicago Bears put together, not just on defense, but also on offense, made them one of the most intriguing, most talented teams ever assembled. The Bears steamrolled their way through the regular season with a 15-1 record. But what most people don't remember is the season started off a little shaky. Chicago actually found themselves trailing of all teams the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 17-28 at halftime. After a tongue lashing by coach Mike Ditka, Chicago responded with an inspired second half in which the offense came alive and the infamous 4-6 defense was born. Tampa would not score another point, and the Bears offense led by running back Walter Payton won the first game of the season 38-28. It was on this sunny day in Florida this championship team was born. After firing previous coaches Neil Armstrong following the 1981 season, Halas, the owner of the Bears at the time, decided to take Ditka up on his offer from several years earlier and hired him to become the team's next head coach. Shortly after hiring, as recounted by Mike Singletary, Ditka called a team meeting, and in this meeting he warned the team that they were experiencing some turnover and some difficulties, but if they were all willing to work for him and stand with him, Ditka promised a trip to the Super Bowl within 3 seasons. Specifically, Ditka said, and I quote, "Give me 3 years, and if you walk with me, we'll get to the dance." He was awarded NFL Coach of the Year honors in 1985 and 1988 by the Associated Press, the Sporting News, and Pro Football Weekly. The 1985 Bears were led by an offensive quarterback, which had the label a punky quarterback from BYU, named Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon would ascend to cult status as he guided the team, who seemingly never had a franchise quarterback, to the greatest season ever in Bears history. McMahon would end up going only 11-0 as a starter that year as he split some starts with fellow quarterback Steve Fuller. In 1985, McMahon became a media darling and sensation, and not only just for his outstanding play on the field, but his off-the-field antics and personality as well. One highlight that Jim McMahon had in the Super Bowl, because he wasn't a great statistician as it came to being on paper besides his leadership roles, off the field, he was the only quarterback up to that time to rush for 2 touchdowns in a Super Bowl. But, aka Sweetness, otherwise known as Walter Payton, was the gas that fueled this offensive car. Payton had a huge season, rushing for 1,551 yards and 9 touchdowns, while also catching 49 passes for 483 yards and 2 other scores. Following closely behind fullback Matt Suhey, Payton enjoyed one of his finest seasons in the league and was voted NFL Offensive Player of the Year in 1985. Payton's motto was "Never Die Easy," which is also the name of his autobiography. Payton attributed his motto to Bob Hill, his coach at Jackson State, and in practice this meant that Payton refused to deliberately run out of bounds and to avoid contact. Being on the smaller size, he accepted the contact and was the pursuer. One of Payton's signature maneuvers was the stutter step, a high-stepping, irregular paced run, which he developed as a way to distract his pursuers and tacklers and startling them into thinking that he had more speed than they thought. He reinvented the practice of stiff-arming his tacklers, which had gone out of favor among running backs in the 1970s. There are 2 athletic awards named after Payton. The NCAA gives the Walter Payton Award to the best offensive player from a Division I college, still often known by his former designation of Division I II. football team. The NFL also hands out the Walter Payton Man of the Year award for the player's achievements in community service during a particular season. The Wellness Center at Jackson State University, which is his alma mater, is also named in honor of Walter Payton. Walter Payton passed away at an early age, but he was inducted into the Hall of Fame before his passing in 1993. The Bears also had some other dynamic playmakers on their team, as well as Dennis McKinnon and Willie Gault. Willie Gault, the leading team receiver, only had 704 yards that year, and McKinnon was the top touchdown receiver with 7. These statistics are not overwhelming, but this team was based on defense. And that Bears defense was the vaulted 4-6 defense, which was coached by Buddy Ryan and invented by Buddy Ryan. Buddy Ryan gave the name of this defense from a player that he once coached who wore the number 46, even though nobody on the Chicago Bears that year wore the number 46. Mike Singletary, who was also a Hall of Famer, was the middle linebacker who anchored this defense down. Mike Singletary that year also got awarded the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Some other key role players on this team were defensive end Richard Dent. He had 17 sacks, which led the NFL that year, and was also named the Super Bowl 20 MVP. Dan Hampton and the Refrigerator Perry, who all of you probably heard of before, were two anchors that anchored down the defensive line for this team. Chicago secondary, which was led by strong safety Dave Duerson, cornerback Leslie Frazier, who's now the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and hard-hitting Gary Fensick manned the free safety spot. The starting secondary would combine for 20 interceptions alone, and altogether the Bears would place 5 players from this defense into the Pro Bowl. Mike Singletary, Richard Dent, and Steve McMichael would also be named first-team All-Pros. So the regular season ended, the Bears were 15-1, and the only loss that they had that year was to the Miami Dolphins, who up to that time was previously the only undefeated team in NFL history. They went on to the postseason to pitch back-to-back shutouts to start their Super Bowl run. They beat the New York Giants at Soldier Field 21-0. The following week, they played at Soldier Field again and played the LA Rams and won 24-0. And then went to the Louisiana Superdome for Super Bowl 20 with a 46-10 victory over the New England Patriots. They would go on to win 18 games with just one loss that year, outscoring terrorized postseason opponents 91-10 during that 3-game stretch, with the most impressive display of pure physical might in the Super Bowl era. The 1985 Bears also set a franchise record for 9 Pro Bowlers to go to Hawaii to play in the Pro Bowl. Jim Covert, Richard Dent, Dave Duerson, Dan Hampton, Jay Hillenberg, Jim McMahon, Walter Payton, Mike Singletary, and Otis Wilson. The 1985 Bears were so popular that teams' offensive line and key reserves had their posters entitled the Black and Blue Brothers, second to none. And for all you who follow football, the big uglies, as they're known, the offensive linemen, are usually never mentioned or popular. But back then, these guys were popular. So do yourself a favor, take a trip back in time to 1985 to watch some videos, read articles, and watch some intriguing interviews regarding these players, and it will be good entertainment for all sports fans. The team had a surplus of vibrant personalities from the players to the coaches to help establish this team as one of the most intriguing franchises and one of the greatest teams in NFL history. And I got a little clip of the Super Bowl Shuffle.
Well, they called me sweetness, and I'm like,
Sorry, the internet connection is not working very well.
He's like,